Welcome to the Bercich Breakdown. Pete Bercich joins us now, and boy, do we have a lot to break down, Peter. It was something that we saw on Sunday that I think took everybody by surprise as how that game played out. You called it. You've had some time to think about what you analyzed live. Now what do you take away from that Sunday night performance by the Vikings?
Well, I think, Jim, what stands out most is the Falcons came in and they looked like a team that lost a close game the week before, right? They were fired up. They wanted to fix everything. They were angry. And the Vikings looked like a team that just got done winning a Monday Night Football game. Meaning for the first about quarter and a half or so, Atlanta really controlled both sides of the line of scrimmage. Their defensive front, they jet, meaning they go vertically. They shoot, they launch themselves off the football. They were able to get in our backfield. And then defensively, we just didn't control the line of scrimmage like I thought we should have or could have. So it took a little while. Being at home helped a lot, I'm sure. But once that evened out, what we weren't able to overcome is just the lack of possession by our offense. I mean, under 50 plays 2 weeks in a row. It's
right.
The least amount of plays this offense has run with Kevin O'Connell here. And just the ability to stack a few plays on top of one another and move the chains and extend a drive. It just, that part of it eventually caught up to us. The defense gave up some yards on the ground, but again, the Falcons are a good running team. They weren't great against the Buccaneers, but they kind of turned it around. And I talked to Tony Dungy after the game, and he had met with Raheem Morris, and what Raheem Morris told his team was, we just got to get back to the basics. We got to get back to blocking, tackling, right, controlling the line of scrimmage, and stop with all the penalties. Stop with the mistakes. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, I hate to make it so simple.
Right.
But no matter what you draw up and what plays you try to run, when you're not executing fundamentally and you're not controlling the line of scrimmage and you're turning the ball over 4 times, penalties, those things, those mistakes that you can fix. They're easily fixed. What I call like procedural penalties, false starts, illegal motions, those kinds of things. Those have to be fixed. You have to get them fixed yesterday. Atlanta, I think, did a better job of fixing what went wrong in week 1, more so than the Vikings did.
All right. How much of this can we put on the injuries, especially for the offensive line, as they're trying to gel and everybody talks about how an offensive line needs time together and how they read off of each other. They can't play it really as 5 individuals. They have to play it as a unit. How much can we pin what we saw Sunday night on the injuries and the unfamiliarity of each other?
Well, I'm offensively with I think there's a little bit of that there. Obviously the Vikings knew that Darrisaw wasn't going to play. Justin School was going to go in and play left tackle. He got a lot of the snaps throughout the week. Michael Juergens being kind of thrust into the whole thing. That's unplanned. I mean, and those are the injuries that affect you the most, is when you have someone who's taken all the snaps all during the week and then you lose them early in a football game. That means the backup has to come in without much practice.
Right.
And you can't, if you have somebody in there, let's just say like Justin School, you can game plan, you can help him out. You can put a tight end over there. You can, chip on the way. You can do a number of different things to help a guy out if need be. Doing that mid-game, that's tough to do. But every single game already thus far, we've had different guys in there on the offensive line, and continuity, yeah, that's important. And then consistency is important too, especially out of guys like Donovan Jackson, who you played very well on Monday night, and I don't think didn't have the game against Atlanta that he had Monday night against the Bears. So just getting more consistency with the younger players. Will Fries, I think, would fall into that category too. I'm sure he left a lot on the table. So that group in general needs, they just need to, buckle down and get her done. And they can. I mean, they have all the talent that they need. They just, you need to get a good week of practice in, and, not having a full week, new bodies. There's a lot of things that quote unquote happened. Don't want to make excuses, but
right.
You think of it this way so you don't go into panic mode and say, well, we just don't have the guys and it's going to look like this every week. Well, it's going to get better.
Yeah, well, that's the next point I wanted to bring up was Adam Thielen, when he spoke to the media this week, brought up the fact that, this isn't all on the quarterback, but that's how the media and the perception of the fans are now, is that if a team stinks offensively, it's one guy. And if they win a game, it was because of that one guy.
Right.
And Adam wants to make the point that, JJ may not have played great, but we didn't play great as a unit. And that's more of the bigger problem. With his statement and what you watched with JJ, what did you come away with watching his performance? And now he's going to be on the shelf for some time. But
yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate because it just slows
the development. We're back in neutral.
Exactly right. And meanwhile, we'll get Carson Wentz in there, who, if you look at the height, weight, and the arm strength, I mean, he fits this offensive scheme just as well as Sam Darnold did. So, I don't want. Who knows what's going to happen this Sunday? He could come out there and Kevin O'Connell's sitting there after running the least amount of passing plays that he's run in the beginning of a season ever, least amount of passing yards ever. I mean, he's going to feel. I can picture them, and just him opening up this offense. Carson Wentz operates better in empty, short passing game, that kind of thing. He might just oblige him. It's been a while. You might be missing Aaron Jones, so your running back room isn't as deep as it was. Another reason why you just might throw it a ton. For JJ, it's really the things that what bothers me the most is you get a couple of really good plays, a couple of really good passes, and you get down to 1st and goal from the 2.
Right.
Then you fumble, right? You fumble to snap on 4th and 1 when you're hurrying up. You fumble on the 1st and goal from the 2. Then you get a penalty. Then you get a mental error on somebody with the offensive line. You get a sack, and then the next play you get a sack. So, as much as you're stacking good plays on top of one another, you're hurting yourself. And I guess that's what you want to see improve as quickly as possible. Just don't put the ball on the ground, right? Get the guys lined up, get them off at the right time, control that group, run that offense. And then, then we can start worrying about the accuracy and the timing and everything else. So, by no means is this a 2-game experiment. I mean, he's our quarterback and will be. He was a top 10 draft pick. Get used to it. You know what I mean? So
right.
He's not going anywhere for a while. And, Coach O'Connell did say last week that when you have a young quarterback, everybody else around him has to elevate their play. And I don't know if that's happened. Meaning the guys around him have to play even better than you would normally when you have a veteran quarterback. You have to go that extra mile to make this thing work. And, right now it's worked for a quarter. I mean, think about it. We scored 21 points in the 4th quarter of the Bears game, and outside of that, we've scored 12. No touchdowns, just field goals. So, the again, time of possession and number of plays. I mean, there's a lot of things there that need to get fixed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, now, if you're watching the Bercich Breakdown for the first time here on the Fox 9 YouTube channel, there's also more in-depth stuff that Pete does right here on his own, right back here. Redemption or delusion, looking ahead to this Sunday's game against the Bengals. And Pete has NFL film of Carson Wentz, of Jake Browning, breaking down what these two backups now will attempt to do to lead their teams to victories. And you can see that Eye in the Sky is the name of his YouTube channel. And it'll also pop up right at the end of this video. So you can just watch it, click right to it, and you can see more of Pete's dynamic stuff. Now, all right, Carson Wentz, what did you see in the video? You said you looked at last year, the one game he started for Kansas City was the final game of the year with nothing on the table. So what were you able to glean from looking at Carson in that situation?
Well, the first thing is that you're going to be worried about is, the accuracy and the arm strength, right? And there are a couple of throws that he makes in that Kansas City game against Denver that will show you that he still has that. He still has a strong arm, and he still is pretty accurate. But again, it's only one game. Keep in mind, Carson Wentz hasn't started multiple games since 2022. So
wow.
that's a while ago, right? Okay. So, I mean, he's going to be the first quarterback in the history of the modern era. That means post 1950 to start at quarterback for 6 different teams in as many seasons. Okay, so this is his 6th team in 6 years.
I don't know if that's a good record or
well, that's why I was talking about delusion versus redemption. You have one quarterback who refers to himself as delusional, in the fact that he could lead a 4th quarter comeback with his team, the Bengals, after throwing 3 interceptions in the previous 2.5 quarters. But yeah, he says, I got to be delusional to think I can do that. And he did a 92-yard, 15-play, 3-minute and 20-some second drive to go ahead. Now, did Jacksonville completely blow it? Yes. You get a turnover on 13-yard line and come away without any points. That's called blowing it. But for Carson Wentz, that's what you're looking for. Is the accuracy and the strength still there? I went back to the prior season when he was with the Rams because, again, similar offense, similar fundamentals, similar passing tree.
Okay.
And was very impressed with his reads. He's very good at seeing the defense and making quick reads and delivering the ball quickly, which translates into a quick passing game. Will the Vikings, because of these skills, be more spread out? We've seen a lot of tighter, multiple tight end, tight formations, that kind of thing. We could be a 4 and 5 wide look on Sunday. Cincinnati hasn't seen it from us, so that would take them by surprise. And then you have a guy who can play in the shotgun and the pistol and be effective. So that could be the route that the Vikings take. So in that regard, you have film. You have film on Cincinnati and with Jake Browning, but you don't really have any film on Carson Wentz with the Minnesota Vikings. So that right there is it'll be an early advantage on Sunday.
All right. How about you talk about chemistry? We talked about it with the offensive line. How about for Carson and the receivers and the offense to get his cadence and to be in sync with a new guy? How big a deal is that, or is that overblown by the media on the outside looking at the operation?
Well, it's an important part. He practiced Thursday of last week when JJ when he was having his baby.
Correct.
So he had it that day, and Coach O'Connell said it was a great day. He thinks maybe one football hit the ground the whole entire practice. Now he's got this entire week. So that's the difference between, let's say, Carson Wentz going in the second quarter versus getting an entire week of practice. The the receivers and the tight ends should have a much better feel for what Carson Wentz, what he is, how he throws the football, the velocity, the spin, the whole thing. So, 4 weeks in an offense, week of practice. I'm not going to ratchet down my expectations too much because I think that's enough time to get at least a good solid foundation.
How about the running game? Mr. Akers comes back for the third straight year. As you mentioned already, Aaron Jones is on the shelf now for at least a month of games. So how do the Vikings move forward? Can they try to continue what they started in these first two games, trying to build a running game? Or, like you said, we may see 4 or 5 wideouts and Carson by himself in the backfield.
Yeah, and depending on the number count, you could just turn around and hand the ball to Jordan Mason. I mean, Jordan Mason took a vast majority of the running plays for the 49ers last year when he was elevated to the starting position in the first 7 or 8 games of the season. So you still have him. Aaron Jones hadn't been carrying the football all that much. I don't know how many carries he got against Atlanta, but he only had 8 versus the Bears. So he's been used more as not a utility role, but in more of a hybrid running back, getting out in the flat, running go routes, as a wide receiver. So he's not the bread and butter, I think, of the running game. He's a dynamic athlete. So are we less off because we don't have him? Absolutely 100%. But I don't necessarily think it's going to alter the run game that much because Jordan Mason on the running downs, running situations is the guy. Third and shorts, the deep red zone, everywhere else. Jordan Mason has become that guy, so we still have him, and I expect that they'll use him quite a bit this Sunday afternoon.
All right, Jake Browning, he obviously had some time here with the Vikings. What can he bring to the Bengals, and how can Brian Flores fluster this guy who's just been thrown into the starting job?
Well, the thing with Jake Browning is you have to be prudent, okay? And the numbers from the Jacksonville game are pretty crazy because once Joe Burrow came out and he went in, you could just see that the Jacksonville defense just kind of lined up, didn't disguise, and just tried to play zone, and Browning really kind of picked them apart. Then they said, okay, well, we got to start blitzing this guy. Well, if you want to get pressure on him, but if you blitz, you better get there because you look at his numbers when being pressured or being blitzed by Jacksonville. When he was blitzed, he was 7 for 8, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 158.3 passer rating. That's perfect, by the way.
Okay? Yes, it is.
That's when Jacksonville blitzed. Now, to Cincinnati's credit, they blocked it up each time. So that means you have less defenders downfield, and whenever he sees or just gets a sniff of press coverage on the outside, he's got Chase on one side and T. Higgins on the other. He's just going to throw a fade, and he's very, very good at it. That's how he got explosive. He threw a 47-yard fade route to T. Higgins. That was a thing of beauty. Now, when not being blitzed, he was 14 of 24, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and had a passer rating of 31.3. So the complete opposite of almost every other human being that's ever played the position. So my point, though, is he, on a lot of those, especially those interceptions, was pressured. It was a 4-man rush, but he was pressured. So if you're going to blitz, you better get there. You can't be sending 5 and leaving a zone open and not getting to the quarterback. You have to get there. So whatever that means, I'm just saying, just number one, don't show it. Don't show the blitz. Don't give it away. He knows what he's doing with the football. He's got some weapons on the outside, so you got to be careful. and then get everything you can out of a four-man pass rush. Because if you do get pressure on him, especially when getting him out of the pocket, you get him out of the pocket, he wants to just get rid of the football, and he's made some mistakes that way as well. But that's kind of the book. But you can't count him out. If he looks horrible for 3.5 quarters, you can't think that he's going to look bad in that last half of the fourth quarter. He's a very resilient quarterback.
All right, Pete, thank you so much. Now, stay here on YouTube if you're watching, because this video is going to follow right here. Pete's going to dive into what Mr. Wentz does, Mr. Browning does. Also catch Pete Sunday morning on Fox 9 for Vikings Game Day Live. And then you'll be right in this same studio, 10:35 for Vikings postgame tonight, here all on Fox 9. I know you're excited for Sunday night at 10:35. You haven't been in studio all season. This will be your first
it'll be the first time
for the whole
during
hour.
the season. Yeah, and I haven't seen Pierre in about 8 months, so
That's
which is
a win.
good. Which is good. It's a win.
Exactly.
So that streak's going to unfortunately be broken, it's going to be a very interesting game. This is the first time Cincinnati has been 2-0 under their current head coach. I can't remember the last time they started a season 2-0, but because of Burrow's injury, they definitely don't feel, they're not feeling the momentum.
No.
They're number one in the division, right?
Yeah.
They're the only 2-0 team in their division. So those are the facts. Now, will they be riding that wave? I don't know. Losing Burrow, it seems like every other year for him. I imagine is getting old. So maybe you can catch him without some momentum. We'll see.
All right. Pete Bercich, thank you so much. That'll do it for the Bercich Breakdown. Again, we'll check you out on Sunday for Game Day Live and post-game tonight. Thanks for watching.